Thomas Edison sat in his laboratory for 17 straight hours without saying a single word. His assistants watched nervously as the great inventor stared at a failed light bulb filament, his mind processing thousands of calculations, theories, and possibilities. When he finally spoke, it was just 4 words. Try the bamboo fiber. Those 4 words, born from 17 hours of silence, would light up the world and change human history forever. You see? Edison understood something that most people today have completely forgotten. He knew that the power of your words is directly connected to the depth of your understanding. He never spoke until he had something worth saying, and when he did speak, the world listened. Oh, but here we are today, living in a generation that has reversed this principle entirely. We speak first and think later. We post before we process. We announce before we analyze. And then we wonder why our words carry no weight, why our voices go unheard, why our ideas fall on deaf ears. I want to tell you something that changed my life forever. When I was a young man, eager to make my mark in the world, I met a mentor who would teach me the most valuable lesson I have ever learned. This man looked at me and said, "Son, you have been given 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. Use them in that proportion." But then he did something that shocked me. He made me sit in complete silence for 30 days. 30 days. No speaking unless absolutely necessary. No offering opinions, no sharing insights, just listening, observing, and understanding. At first, I thought this was punishment. I thought this was a waste of time. But by day 15, something extraordinary began to happen. I started hearing things I had never heard before. I started seeing patterns I had been blind to. I started understanding principles that had been hidden in plain sight. When those 30 days were over and I was finally allowed to speak freely again, something miraculous had occurred. My words had power. People stopped what they were doing to listen. Opportunities that had been closed to me suddenly opened. Relationships that had been difficult became easy. Success that had been elusive became inevitable. Why? Because I had learned the secret that separates the successful from the struggling, the leaders from the followers, the influential from the ignored. I had learned that your success in life is not determined by how much you say, but by how much understanding backs up what you say. Most people are walking around as noisemakers in a world that desperately needs voice speakers. They confuse volume with value, talking with teaching, chattering with changing lives. They speak to be heard instead of speaking to help. They communicate to impress instead of communicating to impact. But success operates on a completely different frequency. Success requires that you understand before you articulate, that you listen before you lead, that you think before you teach. Success demands that every word you speak is backed by genuine understanding, not just borrowed information. Here is what I have learned after decades of studying successful people. Every person who has achieved significant success in life has mastered the art of strategic silence. They know when to speak and when to stay quiet. They know the difference between having something to say and having to say something. Think about the most successful person you know personally. When they speak, what happens? People lean in, conversations stop, attention focuses. Why? Because their words carry weight. Their opinions matter. Their insights change things. And this power did not come from speaking more, it came from understanding more. The unsuccessful person speaks to fill silence. The successful person speaks to fill a need. The unsuccessful person talks to prove they know something. The successful person speaks to prove they understand something. The unsuccessful person uses words to show off their knowledge. The successful person uses words to show others their potential. This is why so many talented people remain unknown while less talented people become famous. This is why so many intelligent people stay poor while less intelligent people become rich. This is why so many capable people remain followers while less capable people become leaders. They never learn that success is not about what you know, but about what you understand. And understanding can only come through the discipline of silence. When you speak without understanding, you reveal your ignorance. When you speak with understanding, you reveal your wisdom. When you speak from noise, you create confusion. When you speak from voice, you create clarity. When you speak to impress, you depress your influence. When you speak to impact, you expand your influence. The secret I'm about to share with you will transform your life, but only if you have the discipline to apply it. Only if you have the courage to change your relationship with words. Only if you have the maturity to value understanding over appearing smart. Most people fail in life not because they lack talent, not because they lack opportunity, not because they lack resources. Most people fail because they speak before they understand the difference between noise and voice. They speak before they understand the power of words. They speak before they understand the responsibility that comes with influence. But you are about to learn something different. You are about to understand why the most successful people in history were also the most careful with their words. You are about to understand why your success is not measured by how much you say. There was a woman named Grace Thompson who worked as a night janitor in a corporate headquarters building in downtown Chicago. Every evening she would clean the offices of executives, lawyers and consultants who earned more in a month than she made in a year. But Grace had something these highly educated professionals lacked. She had understanding. While they talked endlessly in meetings about market trends and business strategies, Grace listened. While they debated theories they had read in books, Grace observed real patterns in human behavior. While they impressed each other with complex vocabulary and sophisticated analysis, Grace quietly studied the simple principles that actually created wealth. One evening, while cleaning the office of a Harvard MBA who had just lost his third major client that year, Grace noticed something. On his desk were contracts, proposals, and reports filled with brilliant ideas that nobody wanted to buy. This man knew everything about business theory, but he understood nothing about what people actually needed. Grace had been watching this pattern for months. The most educated people in the building were often the least successful. They could quote every business guru, recite every marketing strategy, and analyze every trend. But when it came to connecting with real people and solving real problems, they were completely lost. You see, there is a fundamental difference between knowledge and understanding that most people never grasp. Knowledge is information you collect from books, seminars, and other people's experiences. Understanding is wisdom you develop through observation, reflection, and connecting the dots between what you see and what actually works. Knowledge makes you sound smart in conversations. Understanding makes you effective in life. Knowledge helps you impress people at parties. Understanding helps you impact people's lives. Knowledge fills your head with facts. Understanding fills your bank account with results. Grace understood this distinction, and it changed everything for her. Instead of trying to learn more information, she focused on understanding the information she already had. Instead of reading more books about success, she started observing successful people more carefully. Instead of talking about what she was going to do, she quietly began doing what she understood would work. Within 2 years, Grace had left her janitor position and started her own cleaning company. But this was not just any cleaning company. Grace had understood something that all those educated executives had missed. She understood that busy professionals did not just need their offices cleaned. They needed someone they could trust, someone who paid attention to details, someone who understood their world today. Grace Thompson owns a multi-million-dollar facility management company that serves major corporations across 3 states. She employs over 200 people, including several of those Harvard MBAs who used to work in the building she cleaned. And it all started because she understood the difference between knowing about business and understanding how business actually works. The secret Grace discovered is the same secret that every successful person throughout history has learned. Knowledge without understanding is like having a library card but never reading the books. It looks impressive, but it produces no results. Understanding without action is like having a map but never taking the journey. It shows you where to go, but it does not get you there. But when you combine understanding with action, magic happens. When you stop collecting information and start connecting information, your whole life changes. When you stop trying to sound smart and start being effective, opportunities appear everywhere. Most people spend their entire lives accumulating knowledge but never developing understanding. They attend seminars, read books, watch videos, and listen to podcasts. They can quote every expert and repeat every strategy, but when it comes to applying what they know, they are paralyzed. Why? Because they have information without understanding. Understanding comes through a completely different process. Understanding comes through silence, observation, and reflection. Understanding comes through asking better questions, not collecting more answers. Understanding comes through watching what works, not just learning what sounds good. When you truly understand something, you do not need to think about it anymore. It becomes automatic, it becomes natural, it becomes part of who you are. This is why successful people make success look easy. They are not smarter than everyone else. They simply understand principles that others only know about. The moment you stop trying to impress people with how much you know and start focusing on how much you understand, everything changes. Your conversations become more meaningful, your decisions become more effective, your results become more consistent, your influence becomes more powerful. But here is the challenge. Developing understanding requires something that most people are unwilling to give. It requires silence. It requires patience. It requires the discipline to observe before you analyze, to listen before you speak, to understand before you act. This is where most people fail. They want instant expertise. They want immediate results. They want to skip the process of understanding and jump straight to the rewards of knowledge. But life does not work that way. Success does not work that way. Understanding cannot be rushed, borrowed, or faked. It must be earned through the discipline of strategic silence. Let me tell you about David McKenna, a young entrepreneur from Kenya who learned this lesson the hard way. At 25, David had what he thought was a brilliant business idea. He was going to import electronics from China and sell them across East Africa. He had done his research, crunched the numbers, and was absolutely convinced he would become a millionaire within 2 years. David's problem was not his idea. His problem was his mouth. He talked about his business plan to everyone who would listen. He shared his strategies at networking events. He explained his competitive advantages to potential competitors. He revealed his supplier connections to anyone who asked. David believed that talking about his success would somehow create his success within 18 months. David's business had collapsed while he was busy talking about what he was going to do. 3 of his competitors had quietly implemented his exact strategies. They had contacted his suppliers, copied his marketing approach, and captured the market he thought belonged to him. David had given away his competitive advantage through excessive communication. Broke and discouraged, David was forced to take a job working for one of the very competitors who had stolen his ideas. But instead of becoming bitter, David decided to become better. He made a commitment that changed his life forever. He would never again speak about what he was planning to do until after he had already done it for the next 3 years. David worked in complete strategic silence. He observed how successful businesses actually operated, not how they said they operated. He studied the difference between what people claimed to do and what they actually did. He learned to listen for what was not being said. When David finally launched his second business, Everything was different this time. He did not announce his plans. He did not seek approval from others. He did not explain his strategies to anyone. He simply executed with precision and spoke only when his results demanded attention. Today, David owns the largest electronics distribution network in East Africa. His company generates over $50 million in annual revenue, and most remarkably, his competitors still do not understand how he built his empire because he never told them. David learned that success is not about talking about what you are going to do. Success is about doing what you understand will work. This transformation from talker to teacher represents one of the most critical shifts in human development. When you are a talker, you speak to be heard. When you are a teacher, you speak to help. When you are a talker, you share information to impress. When you are a teacher, you share wisdom to impact. When you are a talker, your words are cheap. When you are a teacher, your words are priceless. The formula for this transformation is surprisingly simple. Success equals understanding multiplied by application, divided by unnecessary communication. The more you understand, the more successful you become. The more you apply what you understand, the faster you succeed. But the more you talk about what you're doing before you do it, the more you dilute your power. Most people have this formula completely backwards. They think success equals talking multiplied by networking divided by actual work. They believe that if they can just explain their ideas well enough, success will somehow follow. But life rewards application, not explanation. Life rewards execution, not conversation. There are 3 levels of communication in this world. First are the noisemakers who speak just to fill silence. Second are the voice havers who speak because they have something to say. Third are the wisdom speakers who speak because others need to hear what they have learned. Your goal is not to become a better talker. Your goal is to become a wisdom speaker. And wisdom speakers are not created through communication training. They are created through the discipline of understanding before speaking, doing before declaring, and succeeding before celebrating. The question is not whether you have something to say. The question is whether you have something worth hearing. I want to tell you about Margaret Williams, a single mother of 5 children who lived in a small apartment in Detroit. Margaret had no college degree, no wealthy family connections, and no business experience. What she had was something far more valuable. She understood the power of teaching her children when to speak and when to listen. Every morning at 6 o'clock, Margaret would gather her children around the kitchen table for what she called silence time for 30 minutes. No one was allowed to speak. They could think, they could observe, they could reflect, but they could not talk. At first, her children thought this was punishment, but Margaret knew she was giving them the greatest gift any parent could give, the ability to think before they speak. Of silence time, Margaret would ask each child one question. What did you understand during our quiet time? Not what did you think about, not what did you want to say, but what did you understand? She was teaching them the difference between having thoughts and having insights, between mental activity and mental clarity. As her children grew older, Margaret added another practice. Before any of them could speak at the dinner table, they had to listen to everyone else first, before they could share their opinion. They had to understand what others were saying. Before they could ask for something, they had to consider what others needed. The results were extraordinary. All 5 of Margaret's children grew up to become successful professionals. One became a doctor, another a lawyer. One started a technology company, one became a teacher, and the youngest became a minister. But more importantly, they all became the kind of people others wanted to be around, the kind of people others sought out for advice, the kind of people who attracted opportunities wherever they went. When reporters asked Margaret how she raised 5 successful children on a single mother's income, she gave them an answer they did not expect. I taught them that their success would not be determined by how much they could say, but by how much others wanted to hear what they had to say. This is the daily application of the secret I have been sharing with you. Success is not created through grand gestures or dramatic speeches. Success is created through small, consistent practices that compound over time. Every morning, spend the first 30 minutes of your day in complete silence. No phone, no music, no conversation. Just you and your thoughts. Use this time to understand what you learned yesterday, what you need to focus on today, and what you want to accomplish tomorrow. Every evening, spend 15 minutes reflecting on your conversations from that day. Ask yourself, did I speak to add value or just to be heard? Did I listen to understand or just to respond? Did my words create clarity or confusion? Did I speak from wisdom or just from knowledge? Before you speak in any important conversation, apply the 24-hour rule. Wait one full day before responding to any situation that triggers strong emotions. This gives you time to move from reaction to response, from emotion to understanding, from noise to voice. Transform your relationships by becoming a strategic listener when someone is speaking to you. Listen not just to their words, but to their heart. Listen not just to what they are saying, but to what they need. Listen not just to respond, but to understand. Practice the compound effect of careful speech. Every word you speak either builds your reputation or damages it. Every conversation either increases your influence or decreases it. Every interaction either opens doors or closes them. When you consistently apply these practices, something magical happens. People start seeking you out for advice. Opportunities start finding you instead of you chasing them. Your influence starts growing without you having to promote yourself. This is how you transform from someone who speaks to be heard into someone who speaks to help. This is how you become the person others cannot wait to listen to. Let me tell you about Robert Chen, a man who discovered this secret at the age of 45 when his life was falling apart. Robert was a middle manager at a manufacturing company in Ohio. Passed over for promotion 3 times in 5 years. His marriage was struggling because his wife felt he never really listened to her. His teenage children avoided having conversations with him because he always had to have the last word. Robert was intelligent, hardworking, and well-meaning, but his life was stuck because he had never learned the power of strategic silence. The turning point came during a company meeting where Robert was presenting a proposal he had worked on for months. As usual, he talked for 45 minutes straight, covering every detail, every statistic, every possible objection. When he finished, the room was silent. Then his boss said something that changed his life forever. Robert, you just spent 45 minutes telling us everything you know, but you never once asked us what we needed to hear. That night, Robert went home and looked at himself in the mirror. He realized that his entire life had been built around speaking instead of understanding, talking instead of listening, proving instead of improving. He was 45 years old and had never learned the difference between being heard and being helpful. Robert made a decision that night that would transform everything. He committed to a 30-day challenge. For the next 30 days, he would speak only when his words could add genuine value to a situation. Before every conversation, he would ask himself 3 questions. Do I understand what this person really needs? Will my words help solve a problem or just create more noise? Am I speaking to serve or to be seen? The first week was torture for Robert. He discovered how much of his daily communication was completely unnecessary. He realized he had been filling silence with meaningless chatter, interrupting others to share irrelevant stories, and offering opinions on subjects he did not truly understand. By day 7, Robert estimated he was speaking about 60% less than usual. But the quality of his interactions had increased dramatically. By the second week, something remarkable began happening. His co-workers started coming to him for advice. His boss began including him in high-level planning meetings. His wife started sharing her deepest thoughts with him. His children began asking for his guidance on important decisions. Robert had not gained any new knowledge or skills, but his influence had multiplied exponentially. During the third week, Robert was offered the promotion he had been seeking for years. When he asked his boss why now, the answer surprised him. Robert, you have become the kind of person we can trust with important decisions because you clearly think before you speak. When you say something, we know it matters. By the end of the 30 days, Robert's entire life had transformed. His marriage was stronger than it had been in years. His relationship with his children had become a source of joy instead of frustration. His career had accelerated beyond his wildest expectations. And it all happened because he learned to value understanding over appearing smart. But Robert's story does not end there. 6 months later, Robert was promoted to regional manager. 2 years later, he became vice president. 5 years later, he started his own consulting company. Today, at 55, Robert is a millionaire who travels the world teaching other business leaders the same principle that changed his life. Your success is not measured by how much you say, but by how much others want to hear what you have to say. Robert's transformation happened because he applied one simple but powerful principle. He stopped speaking until he understood what success required from him. And now I am challenging you to do the same. Starting today, I want you to implement your own 30-day transformation challenge. For the next 30 days, you will revolutionize your relationship with words. You will stop being a noisemaker and become a voice speaker. You will stop trying to impress people with how much you know and start impacting them with how much you understand. Here is exactly what you are going to do. Every morning for the next 30 days, you will spend the first 30 minutes of your day in complete silence. No phone, no music, no distractions, just you and your thoughts. During this time, you will reflect on 3 questions. What do I need to understand better today? How can my words add value to others? What do I need to stop saying that serves no purpose throughout each day? You will apply the 3 Cavalier rule. Before you speak in any conversation, you will pause for 3 seconds and ask yourself, is what I am about to say necessary, helpful, and true? If the answer is no to any of these questions, you will remain silent. Every evening, you will spend 15 minutes reviewing your conversations from that day. You will honestly evaluate whether your words created value or just filled space, whether you listened to understand or just to respond, whether you spoke from wisdom or just from ego. But here is the most important part of this challenge. You will not tell anyone you are doing it. This is not about getting credit for self-improvement. This is about actually improving yourself. Remember David McKenna's story. Success comes from doing, not from announcing what you are going to do. At the end of these 30 days, you will be a completely different person. People will start seeking your advice. Opportunities will begin finding you. Your relationships will deepen. Your influence will expand. Your success will accelerate. And it will all happen because you learned the secret that every successful person throughout history has mastered: the power of understanding before speaking. But I must warn you, this challenge is not easy. You will be tempted to quit. You will want to go back to your old patterns of speaking without thinking. You will miss the temporary satisfaction of always having something to say. But if you persist, if you complete these 30 days, you will possess a power that most people never develop. You will possess the power of strategic silence. You will possess the ability to speak words that matter. You will possess the influence that comes from understanding before articulating. You will possess the secret of success that transforms ordinary people into extraordinary leaders. The choice is yours. You can continue living as you have been living, speaking as you have been speaking, and getting the same results you have always gotten. Or you can accept this challenge. Transform your relationship with words and unlock the success that has been waiting for you all along.